Hi, my name is Lyric, and today we're going to be continuing my reactions to the Making the Case series with Making the Case of Magic Johnson. Now, if you don't know, we're doing a 3-part series for every person in this Making the Case series. We started off with Tim Duncan, then Larry Bird, and now we're on to Magic Johnson. Now, the 3-part series is react to their highlights, then we react to their episode in the Greatest Peak series by Thinking Basketball, which is another great series. And then we react to their Making the Case video. Now, if you don't know, I've already seen all the Making the Case videos, so this isn't a first-time reaction. So if you want to see first-time reactions, react to my highlight reactions and my Greatest Peaks reactions, because those are first-time reactions for this. If you want to see Magic Johnson first-time reactions, then watch that. But this is just me watching this to give some, hopefully, at least some insight on this. And you know, just watch it with you guys to see how, because these are some of the greatest basketball videos on YouTube. So if you have not seen the original videos, please, I beg you to go watch them in the description, because they're amazing, and then watch mine. Yeah, let's begin making the case of why Magic Johnson is the GOAT. So make sure to subscribe and like, because it takes less time for me to say the words subscribe and like than it takes you to actually subscribe and like. So like, I don't know what you're doing there by not doing that. So yeah, let's go.
Basketball is special. The size of the court and the lack of pads or helmets give fans the most intimate experience of a team sport that exists.
Okay, this is kind of irrelevant, but like, could Shaq have like killed someone by doing this? Like, think about it, bro. If he landed on someone the wrong way, he could definitely kill someone by doing that.
Helmets give fans the most intimate experience of a team sport that exists. And because of the different styles that basketball allows for, players develop their own distinct identities and signature styles through their creativity, flair, and athleticism. And although no player succeeds alone, the scoring volume and two-way nature of the sport give individual stars a nearly unprecedented amount of control over the flow and outcome of a game. For this reason, players are constantly compared to their peers and to the legends of the past in order to answer the most hotly contested question in the sport: who's the greatest to ever do it? For many, the question is redundant. They believe in only one right answer: their answer. Others might have their own personal stance, but acknowledge one or two alternatives. But I believe that there's much more nuance to the question of greatness and more answers to it.
This is a legendary series.
By my count, there are 8 players in NBA history that have a substantial claim as the GOAT. It's a subjective thing, though. I can't give you a definitive answer. All I can do is make the argument. So today, I'll be making the case for Magic Johnson as the greatest basketball player of all time.
Here we go, man. Magic Johnson.
The year is 1979. Professional basketball in America is at perhaps the lowest point in its history.
Larry and Magic saving it.
No one is going to games, the ratings are garbage, none of the players are very marketable, and the product is so bad that CBS isn't bothering to air playoff games live. Things look bad. Enter Earvin Johnson. Johnson bested Larry Bird's undefeated Indiana State Sycamores in the 1979 NCAA Championship.
Highest rated game ever.
An event that retains the highest TV rating of a game of basketball ever. When the Lakers used their #1 overall pick to make Johnson the first underclassman ever to be taken as the top draft choice, you have to wonder if they knew exactly who they just drafted. How could they have known that they had just drafted a player that would become an icon for their franchise, for their city, and for a generation of basketball history? They didn't draft Earvin Johnson, the prospect from Michigan State. They drafted Magic. Right off the bat, for whatever it's worth, Magic Johnson has the coolest nickname in NBA history.
It's true.
It fits him to a T and is really the name that everyone knows him by. It's not like his last name is superfluous, like with Kobe, LeBron, or Kareem. And it's not like his last name is eternally iconic, like Russell, Jordan, or Duncan. It's just Magic. Johnson came into the NBA and immediately injected it with life like he was an epinephrine pen. Magic's winning smile, charismatic interviews, and revolutionary play style introduced the league to a pulse and a personality it hadn't known since Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt Chamberlain actually coming next. But
Before long, he became the frontman of a team that would be known by its own distinct nickname.
Showtime.
Showtime. Like it was a piece of theater or art in and of itself. He was the lead man.
Every highlight I see of the Showtime Lakers, they really do be looking. They really look like the damn Harlem Globetrotters out there. Like, it's insane.
Of the most popular show in Hollywood.
Like, for you in the 80s to see this, like, it's insane.
In a city full of celebrities, he was the main attraction.
I could see why they really popularized basketball at this. Same with the Larry Bird Celtics and Larry Bird, all his insane highlights he was doing.
He had the smile and personality to carry a name like Magic, but he also had the basketball aptitude to pull off a team called Showtime. What did he do with that aptitude? He won 5 championships,
5 rings,
a half-decade's worth, and appeared in 9 finals. Only Kareem, Bill Russell, and Sam Jones have appeared in more.
And now LeBron. Yeah, now LeBron. He's been 10.
He won 3 regular season MVPs in a span of 4 years, won 3 finals MVPs, made 12 All-Star teams.
Made 12 All-Star teams, and he also played, I believe, in 12 seasons fully. So he made an All-Star team every season, apart from the season when he came back.
And was selected to 10 All-NBA teams. And keep in mind that all of these accomplishments took place in a 12-year career, 11 if you want to mention his injury-shortened 81 season. Magic only spent 3 years of his playing career watching the finals from home. I spent more years trying to graduate from college than Magic spent not making the finals. His HIV diagnosis came right on the heels of a season in which he finished as the runner-up for league MVP, was selected to first-team All-NBA, and competed in the NBA Finals.
He was the second best player in the league. He was the second best player in the league behind Jordan and retired because of HIV. Like, he literally missed out on a good chunk of his prime.
Hyperbole or exaggeration to say that Magic's career was cut short while he was still 90%.
Maybe not team-wise, because his team was getting pretty trash at that point after they lost in the finals, but still.
As good as he'd
like, individually-wise.
Those 12 years were enough of a basketball pedigree, though, that even now, some 30 years later, he is still universally considered the greatest point guard of all time. A fact made both impressive
Magic or Steph, leave in the comment section below. It's pretty controversial now.
And unfortunate, considering how much more he had to give.
Yeah. Magic and Bird changing the NBA forever, even though Bird only played 13 seasons and Magic 12 is actually insane.
Still, Magic's career stacks up against
actually 13 because you included 96 seasons.
Anyone else with a claim to basketball's highest throne. And the legend surrounding Magic Johnson is rooted in the undeniable truth that Magic Johnson is the best passer in the history of basketball.
People have been arguing with me, man. People have been saying Bird's actually the best passer of all time. I'll show you some Bird passing highlights, but I think it's still Magic. I think Bird's the better player, but Magic's the better passer.
With the ball in his hand, he was no longer a basketball player. He became a force of nature.
Oh my god.
His movements became sublime and fluid. These passes aren't coming from Magic. I refuse to believe that any human could do this kind of stuff so routinely without divine intervention. These passes are coming from the basketball gods, and Magic Johnson became their instrument. To convince you, I shouldn't need to show you anything other than his ability, but the stats bear it out. Magic has the highest assist per game average ever,
11
and also
per game
has the most
for his career
assists in NBA playoff history. Magic's skills has the most assists in NBA.
Who's on this list? We got John Stockton number 2, LeBron probably a bit higher now, probably like number 2, I think. Actually, maybe not. Maybe he's still number 3. I don't know. Jason Kidd, Tony Parker, Bird at 6, Nash, Pippen up there. Kobe Bryant at 9. People say he doesn't friggin' pass. That was like 5 assists a game, which is pretty good for a shooting guard. And then Jordan.
Playoff history. Magic's skills extended beyond just passing, though. Too big to be guarded by traditional point guards and too quick to be guarded by slow-footed forwards, he created matchup problems every time he brought the ball across midcourt. His speed with the ball was unrivaled, and accompanied with his remarkable rebounding proficiency,
his passes are
was a
so
key
nuts.
feature in the Lakers' fast break offense. He was adept at finishing with either hand, something he did often thanks to his underrated first.
He had better handles than Bird, I'll give him that.
Years of practice by himself and with Kareem helped Magic develop a high post game that added yet another dimension to his offensive skill set. Magic was also
Okay, Bird was obviously a better shooter, but I think Magic was better at randomly hitting half-court shots, which is a weird, like, a weird thing to say. But I've seen like 20 clips of him hitting like half-court shots or full-court shots, and I don't think I've ever seen Bird. I've never seen a clip of Bird doing that, which is kind of weird considering how Bird's a better shooter.
Also adept at picking his
Just a weird
opponent's
fact I've
pockets,
noticed.
leading the league in steals per game twice.
Yeah.
This skill set is made even more impressive when you remember that Magic was the same height as Karl.
What did I just say again? He
This
hit a
skill
full-court
set
shot.
is
Look at
made
this.
even more impressive
What is
when
that?
you remember that Magic was the same height as Karl Malone. That might be my favorite thing about
That's
Magic.
insane.
That he was a true, authentic point guard who happens to be 6'9". It wasn't like with Tim Duncan, who played power forward but people say was actually a center, or how James Harden is listed at shooting guard even though he plays more like a point guard. Magic was an honest-to-God point guard who could also play every position on the basketball court. As an individual defender, Magic was capable, never a lockdown guy, but he was as versatile and as switchable
This is
as
a
they
neutral
come.
defender.
And with such solid rebounding numbers, there were no holes in Magic Johnson's offensive game. When I say that Magic immediately began making an impact on the NBA, I do mean immediately. His
Greatest Peaks video made a case for him being the greatest offensive player ever.
rookie year is still one of the most successful campaigns a first-year player has ever had. He took over the job as starting point guard and helped guide the Lakers to 60 wins and a berth in the NBA Finals, where the Lakers faced Julius Erving's Philadelphia 76ers. The series was competitive throughout, with each contest being decided by 10 points or fewer through the first 5 games. In Game 5, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the reigning league MVP and the Lakers' best player, badly sprained his ankle.
Game 6,
Kareem
greatest
was
finals
able
games
to
ever.
return and will his team to a 5-point victory,
Kareem should have been the finals MVP, though, for what he did the first 5 games.
putting the
Fair.
Lakers ahead in the series 3-2. With only one more win needed to clinch the title, Kareem was ruled unavailable for Game 6 in Philadelphia. Magic was then called upon to start the game at center and try to replace Kareem's 33-point-per-game average in the series.
This is the greatest single game final
Magic
performance of all
answered
time,
that
though.
call and delivered one of the most memorable basketball performances
42,
by
15,
any
and 7.
player ever. 42 points,
Yep.
15 rebounds,
rookie.
7 assists, 3 steals,
Nuts.
and a block.
Playing all positions.
All as a 20-year-old rookie playing on the road on basketball's highest stage.
Nuts.
For his efforts, Magic was named Finals MVP, the first and only rookie to win the award. In the years that followed, Magic's basketball journey would be inextricably linked to that of Larry Bird.
Yeah.
It's nearly impossible to talk about one without mentioning the other. In my Making the Case video for Larry Bird, I brought up arguments that could be
I did
used
watch
in
it, man.
favor of Bird's superiority. And because this
You
is a
watched
video
that?
about Magic's claim of supremacy, I figure I ought to do the same for him.
Makes sense.
You first have to give credit to Magic for being the most decorated player during perhaps the most talent-laden period the NBA has ever seen. Including
True.
his finals opponents, Magic faced competition like Olajuwon and Sampson's Rockets, Tom
Yep.
Chambers' Suns, Mark Aguirre's Mavs, Isaiah Thomas's Pistons, Moses Malone and Dr. J's 76ers, Michael Jordan's Bulls, and Bird's Celtics. Magic's detractors might try to devalue his team's success by pointing out that he played for a remarkably talented team thanks
Which he
to
did.
a brilliant front office.
But he made them great.
Because of his team's talents, these detractors say, Magic can't be individually credited for their success.
Which is true, but
In
he
the
made them
interest of
so,
making
very
Magic's
great.
case, though,
He
I
added
first
so much to
acknowledge
them.
that yes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the best basketball player in the world for nearly the entire 1970s
Yeah.
and had already led a team in Milwaukee.
Kareem was the better player for 2 of their championships than Magic. But Magic was the better player because Kareem played better in 80 and 85. He should have had 2 more finals. He should have had 1 more finals MVP as he won it. If he should have won it in 80, but they didn't give it to him. Partly because he wasn't there when they won the championship. Because Game 5, he was in LA, and then he sprained his ankle, and he just assumed because he wasn't playing in Game 6 that they just wouldn't win Game 6. So which was in Philadelphia. So he just stayed in LA to heal for Game 7, which was going to be in LA. So when they won the championship, he just wasn't there. So they didn't want to give the trophy to someone who wasn't there. So they gave it to Magic. So that's actually part of the reason he didn't win Finals MVP. Also because they wanted to, for the storyline, you know, him having the greatest finals performance of all time in one game. They gave it to him. But, yeah, Magic was the better player for 3 of the championships, though.
To a championship by the time Magic arrived in LA. Yes, James Worthy was one of the most polished and accomplished prospects to come out of college basketball in some time. And that's not to mention other
James Worthy underrated, so is Michael
pivotal
Cooper and
role
Byron
players
Scott.
like Michael Cooper, Kurt Rambis, and Byron Scott, who all played outstanding basketball. I
Great
acknowledge
image.
all of that, but I'd argue that the greatness of the Showtime Lakers does not take anything away from Magic's abilities as a player or as a leader.
Dude, once again with the half-court shots, what I say?
It reinforces the fact that Magic is one of the most effective leaders basketball has ever seen.
That's true. For you to be able to keep together a team like that and have a peaceful transition to power from one goat tier player to the next is something unseen.
By the start of the 84-85 season, he had organically flourished into the alpha dog of the team and respectfully taken the torch from Kareem without a power struggle. It's one of the only times in NBA history that there was a peaceful transition of power from one player to the next. Pro basketball is like 15th century England in that sense. There are no peaceful transitions of power.
It's true.
The fact that Magic was able to earn the respect and commitment of his teammates, especially one of the most historically dominant players ever in Kareem, is a testament to Magic's greatness.
Do you guys think Magic is better than Kareem all time?
Beside the departure of Norm Nixon, the Lakers' previous point guard, there were no ugly breakups. Cooper, Rambis, Scott, Worthy, and Kareem all retired at one point or another as Lakers. If you won't believe me, listen to the words of Bill Simmons, former ESPN columnist,
Celtics
current
fan.
CEO of The Ringer, and noted Boston sports supporter who grew up rooting against Magic. Simmons says he's the single best leader in the history of the sport. Nobody extracted more from teammates, whether it was an all-star game, a mundane affair in December, or any playoff game. It's also important to note that Magic was ready to win right from the get-go. Like I said earlier, he won Finals MVP as a rookie and finished as the runner-up for regular season MVP in his final full year. Unlike nearly every other player who's ever laced him up, there was never a year where Magic's productivity dropped below his eye-popping, jaw-dropping standards. 12 years of Magic Johnson means 12 years of top-shelf, undeniable, incomparable greatness. Magic's critics might say that he didn't score enough, that his defense was too suspect to be considered the greatest, or that his play wouldn't translate into the league today.
The only one I really agree with there is the defense.
To all of that, I'd argue that one of the best things about basketball is how many different ways there are to win. You can be a 6'3" sharpshooter like Steph Curry and revolutionize the game, a 7'1" behemoth like Shaq who dominates the league, or anything in between. There are so many viable ways to play the game that have all resulted in championships, MVPs, and the like. Magic's play style allowed him to control the game with a vice grip and tailor it to his specific brand of basketball. What's a player supposed to do when it comes to how the game might evolve in the future? When people talk about the way Magic played, they sometimes talk about it almost like it's a kind of historical casualty. That bewilders me. What Magic did worked really well.
True.
Why should he have done anything different? Magic changed the NBA for the better. He was the first positionless player, someone who broke the mold and opened the basketball-watching public's eyes to the possibilities of letting great players do what they're great at, rather than just fulfilling the traditional roles of their size or position. As the game...
Yeah, he was a true... Yeah, having been the first 6'9" point guard, like, truly started the positionless basketball movement decades before it actually became like a more common thing.
Evolves more and more into a positionless sport, Magic's influence and value only become more and more apparent. His Showtime Lakers also became one of the first teams to make the game of basketball aesthetic. The speed, athleticism, and skill we all enjoy today is due in part to Showtime and Magic Johnson. In my video about Larry Bird, I gave him a lot of credit for saving the NBA, and deservedly so. Larry was a pioneer of basketball and contributed immensely to the explosion of the game's popularity.
True.
But for every breath of fresh air that Larry
Also
contributed, Magic did the same. You can't talk about one without the other because it was the rivalry between the two that really saved the league.
True.
The fact that they competed against each other in such a high-profile game in college,
greatest rivalry in
nearly
history,
polar opposite personalities, were of different races, played for the two most historic teams in the country, and met each other multiple times in the finals, all cements theirs as the defining rivalry of the NBA. Despite the differences in their personalities though, their games were remarkably similar. Team-first, success-oriented mindsets and proclivities for passing were trademark features of both their styles. Those styles met
These
three
passes,
times in the
bro.
finals,
Like
each
both of
in
them, it's just
legendary
nuts.
fashion. Magic would have the last laugh though, with 2 championship series wins against Bird.
True.
By the time the 1987 finals, their last series against each other, rolled around, Magic had developed a killer instinct and flair for the dramatic matched only by his rival. In Game 4 of the series,
87 finals, Magic, eventually got the best of Bird.
with the Lakers leading
with the baby skyhook.
2-1, Magic all but iced the series with the most legendary shot of his career.
The baby skyhook,
Down
man.
1 with seconds left in a raucous Boston
Made up for Tragic Johnson in '84
Garden,
with this.
Magic ripped the heart
This is the comeback
out
with
of
Tragic Johnson.
every Celtics fan with his baby sky hook.
Magic with a hook shot, scores with 2. And the Celtics trail by 1 with 2 seconds to go.
It was the moment of the 87 finals and the shot of Magic's career. He capped
Over both Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish, bro. That's insane.
off the most
How imagine being able to shoot over Kevin McHale long ass
remarkable
arms.
season of his career by vanquishing his most intense rival for the second time in 3 years. Bill Simmons described how momentous the shot and ensuing championship win was for Magic's legacy. Not even the biggest Celtics fan on the planet could deny it any longer. Magic Johnson was just as exceptional as Larry Bird. This point is echoed by Bird himself in a clip I'll leave you with. After the game, Bird remarked how impressed he was with Magic's performance and ability as a basketball player. It's only an 11-second clip, but there's a moment in it that just strikes me. There's a split second where you can see the disbelief in Larry's eyes as he tries to come to terms with the fact that the game, and likely the series, is over. In that second, you can almost see him ponder all of the work he put in during the season. All the games he played and the shots he took, all in the hopes of getting a chance to beat his old rival. And then he has to reconcile the fact that that old rival got the better of him, plain and simple.
Man, the Magic versus Bird comparison is so unbelievably close. It's actually insane. Like, it's actually insane how close it is sometimes. I think I'm still going with Bird, but it's so unbelievably close.
Bird wasn't alone in having to reconcile being beaten by Magic Johnson. Magic still maintains the highest win percentage for a career in NBA history. It's the same thing countless players and coaches had to come to terms with during Earvin Magic Johnson's 12 magical years with the Los Angeles Lakers. Here's Bird, summing it all up with a look.
Magic's just a great basketball player. He's the best I've ever seen, you know. Unbelievable. I don't know what to say.
All right. So, in the comment section below, let's have a discussion. Who do you think is better, Magic Johnson or Larry Bird, and why? And if so, do you think either of them are the GOAT? And if so, why? Well, that video has made the case for it, but, you know, explain your reasoning for things. Let's have friendly discussions in the comment section about stuff like this, because this is really interesting for me. If you want me to continue the series, make sure to like and subscribe. And, yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.